Oh, that was cool.
Welcome to the magic.
Yeah. All right. So how do we do this? Bam, bam, bam. There we go. So what is it on Twitter now? Pretzel paint? I never.
Yeah, that one. Or I think it's just pretzel paint because
Pretzel
Twitter
paint
has
stew.
the stupid like limit.
Okay. And do you have a, yeah, you
Affiliate
got
code for whatever.
Instagram. Do you have Instagram?
Yeah. Should
What it
be
was it?
should have studios on
See, we're gonna have to get better organized about
it.
this stuff. We don't even know who we are
I need
on
to
this
make a
thing.
freaking
But
link
anyway,
tree.
so he's got the big screen. I figured he's gonna be painting some. What are you painting? Night Lords, you said?
Night Lords. We
All right.
are we are hard for heresy in this house.
And then I don't know what I'm gonna work on if I'm drawing or trying to do a paint over. I might try to do a paint over of
Oh,
something. I don't even know what. And then we're joined by four Jamars. What are you doing? Is it hot? Did it cool down over there? It had to have cooled down, right?
I've got some prep underway for my hobby hangout later on, which I can't really do much about because I'm doing oil weathering. So that's
Wait, up a little more.
what's happening.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Was
So
that
it's
in?
covered in crap.
That thing's pretty big. Is that in that box set or is that a separate unit?
Yeah, that's a Sikaran.
Oh, there's a separate one.
Is that the Kratos?
The Kratos.
Fucking
Kratos give you a sword.
the tank looks good from every angles, and I can't ever tell it's a Kratos unless it's next to another Kratos or it's got that gun on it. Honestly,
I put it next to a Sikaran destroyer, Amiga destroyer, the other day, and it is basically like a pumped up version of Sikaran if it was on steroids and stretched out a little bit.
Hey, I just want to say, hey, Alex, thanks for making it. And Alex, are you hobbying right now, or what are you up to? I know I always see him on Twitter. Like, is it,
and mechanic
there's the where did I put my water? Oh, here it is.
You have no water?
how do you do this with no water?
Oh, nice cold water.
Well, I'm just fueled by beer.
Yeah. What's evening?
I always find it hilarious when you drink that. I would kind of typically drink a Stella, and you would kind of typically drink a Budweiser. Like that's what.
This is a
Yeah,
soft
and
drink.
I laughed. I'm like, "Here's your yeah." That's what, and it's just so funny to me that it's like around the world, and these people across the are drinking the opposite beer.
Freaking Miller Lite.
I like Budweiser because it is light, sort of
Yeah.
an airy. You know, it's easy drink. I'm not having to think about drinking it, or like it hasn't got that little after tang or anything.
Yeah.
Whereas Stella's got a bit of a kick.
Yeah, it does. It tastes kind of like
and
skunky or something to me. That's why I like it. It tastes totally skunky to me.
Or I used to be drinking the old Carlsberg Export. It's cool.
I'm having tea and a smoke before assembling Lionel Johnson. Oh, wait. I don't know if I've seen that. I must have seen it. I'm always staring at these models. Is it a new one? Is Lion new, or has he been around for a while? That model, do you guys know?
Lion came out last year, and he's a really nice sculpt. I was always disappointed though that they didn't do a dual
Agreed
with him and Night.
I hate Croz's face model. It's it's rough. It's rough. It's rough.
I always envision like Night Haunter in his little perch surfing on the brickwork, but then have like the lion like stalking up to him with his sword ready to sort of like whip up and like
a baseball bat.
A bit. Yeah, basically a low attack with a baseball bat.
I actually really like the lion's base. Like the bits on the dead Night Lords on there are the reason that I have the model. And It's like they're really good. Like the dude charging forward. I've kit bashed him with some other parts for like a skirmish game, and he's got like I gave him a flail because he's in like a very good running position to start like heaving a flail. The guy that's getting the guy firing a Volkite who's like about to get decapitated.
Yeah, no, there's certain things like they definitely missed a trick on that. Obviously, the last dual model they did was the Wolf King versus Magnus.
How do you the Night Lords? The Night Lords. How do you pronounce? What's their Primarch's name again? Conrad.
Conrad Kurz.
Conrad Kurz.
I like Cruz better.
So think of General Kurz Colonel Kurtz.
Okay, and so what's his? Because I want to draw him next. I'm gonna probably draw. He's one of the next because I got the perfect song to go with the video for a time lapse. So I'm like, damn. I'm like, I got to do that one next just because. And I've seen I haven't looked at a lot of the I've seen some of the artwork around whatever, but I intentionally don't go seek it out because I kind of just go with, hey man, like learn my little bit of lore and then try to come up with whatever I think is my version of it. And because if I stare too long at other people's stuff, I get way unduly influenced. You know what I mean? Be like, okay, I got to do this, and he should have that, and then you just whatever. So I was gonna do that one next, and so I guess I got to look him up because I don't know much about that one. So I was kind of like, oh, you're doing the Night Lord. So I'm like, I might catch up on a little Night Lord lore.
I got a book for you.
When you mentioned that song, there is one song that I associate with Night Lords, and it's a song by Faith No More, and it's called Cone of Shame. Because in that, when it kicks into the main the chorus, it's basically just saying about how I want to see you with your skin off, and that's a big thing for the Night Lords. And he's just so rocky, and he feels Night Lordsy. When I first heard it, I instantly thought of the 8th Legion because it was just like, I want to see your skin off.
What kind of planet was he on? Do you guys know? Like the night, he must have been some like dark whatever.
Exactly that.
Strano Quintus was a planet which had no sun.
Alex says, what do you say? Kurz is basically Batman on meth.
He's. What if Batman had foresight and a lot of meth and even more daddy issues than before?
A friend of mine actually described Kurz as Robot Santa from Futurama. Because if you think about it, he's like, "You naughty or nice?" And just
what's his?
Okay,
so what's his kind of like powers or whatever?
As Pretzel said, he's got foresight. He's actually trapped to his prescience. He's seen the future. He was the first person to actually mention that about the heresy, that the future was going to be bathed in fire and blood and everything. Okay. And he told Fulgrim this, and then Fulgrim told Dawn. Dawn wouldn't accept this and went over to have words with him, and then Kurz almost killed him in the ensuing argument, and which broke into a fight. So that's why Dawn doesn't really like Kurz.
I don't think anyone really likes Dawn Kurz, to be fair.
Yeah, but Kurz is a mirror to Sanguinius.
But I know they both have like.
Yeah. Who's the god? What god?
Sanguinius. Oh, he doesn't.
None. He's.
Chaos Republic. Basically, the Night Lords, after they were in it because they didn't agree with what was going on and stuff, and they were pretty much renegade before the heresy. They were basically out on their own, Kurz had been taken into custody. He'd broken out of custody. Then basically went and joined up with his Night Lords, went and killed this Dramo Quintus. They blew the shit out of it with all its Night Lords fleet.
Yeah, they blew up their homeworld because they were like, you know what? they did a bunch of corrupt politician shit, and well, I can't really undo that.
They blew up their homeworld?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, at least they're thorough.
Basically, because he's so like when he was found, he was actually praised by the Emperor Fulgrim and Magnus was with them when they found Kurz, and Fulgrim was praising him on how he had like perfect order because it was through fear. It was like nobody would do anything wrong because the Night would come and get them. So he'd gotten that into a state, but during the Great Crusade, and because Night Haunter weren't there, they basically regressed back to being scum and villainous and stuff. So he just thought, fuck it. You haven't learned your lessons. Here's the final lesson I'm going to impart to you.
I feel another big part of it was like he wanted a lot of really good like tools for justice, I guess, for the Space Marines, and like Nostromo was supposed to be sending like the best and brightest to go for the Astartes program and shit. And then they just said, "Lol, what if we just emptied the floodgates of the prisons and just said, here you go, have a Space Marine."
Yeah, he was also the only Primarch that didn't actually like his Legion.
Yeah.
He hated his sons.
Oh, really?
So he basically...
Okay, so wait, so he doesn't have
But as I said, like he had the foresight.
No Chaos God. Also, he's dead. Like he's not in the 40Ks.
Oh, who killed him?
An assassin.
Oh, interesting.
An Imperial assassin, a Calidus Imperial assassin, because he saw his death. So he, as I was saying, like as opposed to Sanguinius, who saw his death, Sanguinius basically knew he was going to die. There was no avoiding it, and so he basically just went out and did everything he could, and he basically embraced it. He knew he weren't going to die until that point, so he just went out and just hammered the traitors during the siege attack.
Because he could do almost whatever. Yeah,
accepted it and allowed that sort of like feelings of like, oh well, I'm going to
got melancholy.
It was so weird.
Melancholy? Did he get melancholy?
Yeah, he basically he went down. So instead of being proactive, he accepted it and just got depressed and went a bit crazy with it as well. It's
a real good book.
It was actually in the book Pharos by Guy Haley. There's a scene in there because
I'm certain
in the Imperial Secundus arc of the Horus Heresy, basically the Dark Angels end up at Ultramar at Macragge, and the Lion had already captured Night Haunter, and Night Haunter's trapped within his flagship. Within this like area, they've sealed it all off, and basically the Lion went in there on occasions to hunt him down to try and capture him again. But he's running loose around his ship. And when they get there, the Lion goes downstairs to meet with Rabute, because Rabute is building up the Imperial Secundus, and Rabute knows that I can't take the leadership of Imperial Secundus because then that makes me Horus. So he's organising it all, but he needs a figurehead. And the first brother to turn up was Lion, and he's like, and it was quite good, insightful as well, because Gulliman looks up to the Lion because he's his bigger brother, his older brother, which is weird because they're aged differently. But he looks up to him, but he knows there's that little bit of he's got that thing that the secrets. And hidden stuff. And whilst they're sitting there talking, Night Haunter actually gets out, runs around the ship, and basically in the Dark Angels have basically got all their drop pods loaded with troops, ready just in case anything goes wrong downstairs. And he basically activates the drop, and so like hundreds of drop pods start launching. The line is like Goodman goes, "Why are your sons dropping from orbit on drop pods?" And he's like, turns power, goes, "What? what do you mean?" And he goes, "You do realise, I've got void shields are up, so they're just going to smash themselves to death." And like the line like powers even more and goes, "Please don't know. I don't know what's going on. I honestly don't know what's going on." And it's the first time you see the Lion actually
panicking
in a human moment. Like he doesn't know what's going on, and his sons are about to all die. 10,000 of them are going to impact upon the void shields around the track. And he's like pleading to Gulliman, "I don't know what's going on. Please don't kill my sons." And then they all land, and like all these troops are coming out because they've been deployed, but they're not being given
ready.
They're like, what's they're walking out the thing going, "What are we meant to be doing?" But yeah, and Kurz came down on a drop pod, and then he's loose on the crag.
I'm painting some stuff for a dude, and he's like, "You want some drop pods?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." And then he handed me 6 magnetized drop pods. Like all the doors are magnetized. And I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Is it?
I don't know what I'm going to do with this many drop pods.
So that's first. You're doing that stuff as a commission?
No. These I now have 6 drop pods that I don't know what I'm doing with them, and by that I mean I know I'm damn well making a drop pod assault because that sounds funny.
Are drop pods?
Yeah, because in the new Heresy they all deploy at once.
Are there drop pods
So
in the Heresy?
Once you
yeah, and they're only 35 points. I'm like, oh my god, it's like free.
So you basically, and whereas before in the old Heresy, like if you had, say, 5 drop pods, for example, in the first turn, 5 of them you could basically have half of them come down, rounded up, and then the other 2 would come down later or whatever. In this system, all of them can turn up at once, so you can have that traditional Astartes drop pod assault. And just drop down. Obviously, it depends where they land. That can be a bit.
That's the fun part.
And then, like, you just deploy your troops out. It's quite intense because when you've got facing up against an army, you can place your army to sort of counter that. But when you've got a lot of drop pods coming in, because you don't know where they're going to land. So it's a bit like, okay, how do I set up my army? What do I do?
Okay, that's kind of cool. So at least, all right, I can see that. I was thinking, like, tactically, how does that play out? Because, like I said, I've only played up to like 2nd edition. You know what I mean, and how drop pods came down then.
Yes, and you also got the dread claws, which are slightly bigger drop pods, but they can, once they land, they can actually float around the battlefield. Or you got the Charybdis, which is the biggest drop pod, and you can get like 20 Marines in that, or a Leviathan Dreadnought, which would terrorize the crap out of anybody. Because if you're dropping one of them in the middle of the battlefield, and that comes out, that's like instant panic mode. It's like, oh Jesus, it's a Leviathan. Because they're just freaking nasty. Dreadnoughts in this new system, in the new 2.0, are more like how dreadnoughts are in the books.
So happy.
Really?
Formidable. Okay. I sadly haven't built any of mine yet. I have one of each that I want to build, or I have like 3 Contemptors that I need to build. But it'll be really fun once they are, and then it's just absolute terror.
It's carnage. I would definitely recommend having a close combat weapon along with the range weapon, because like you can go like dual shooty.
I liked Dreadnoughts back in the day,
But
and I played Space Wolf, so I used to get Bjorn or whatever, and he was super beast mode.
Bjorn in, I think I told you a story about Bjorn in the 40k era, didn't I? Where
Dude, tell me again because I might not remember.
There's a book by.
I don't know that much about Space Wolves. I'm here to learn about this awesome dreadnought.
There's a book called The Emperor's Gift, which is by Aaron Dembski Bowden, which is actually about one of the wars of Armageddon, and when the Grey Knights, when Angron appears on Armageddon, the Grey Knights are there because the Space Wolves have basically turned up at their secret homeworld and said, "We need you to come with us and help us defeat bad dudes." And they went, "How do you know where we are?" And okay, so they send out loads of Grey Knights to go out to Armageddon to help defeat the Chaos incursions, and they fight Angron at a heavy toll, but they banish Angron and his entourage, and then it goes to pot because the Inquisitor in charge of the operation there basically says, "Right, okay, well, we're going to have to kill everyone on the planet now because Chaos has been there."
I think
and
I
the Space Wolves are going.
Someone brought it up.
Yeah, and the Space Wolves go, "Hold on a second, but like these cities had no Chaos people, so why do we have to kill them? And all these loyalist troops that have fought bravely, why do we have to kill them? They fought bravely. They stood and fought Chaos. You know, we can't just go and kill them, sort of thing." And so basically, the Space Wolves went, "No, we don't agree with that, and we're going to help these people get away and escape and all that." So they stood for, to help the people that had been fighting to get away. The Grey Knights, the Inquisition went after them, and they ended up having a little bit of a war between each other. And they go to Fenris to speak with someone in charge. And the only person in charge at the time was Bjorn Fellhand. And they've got this like Inquisitors and like this Grey Knights are on this like landing platform, and they're standing there, and the doors open, and this dreadnought comes out of the lid, sort of thing, comes stomping over, and one of the Inquisitors is from Fenris, Inquisitor Annika Jarlsdottir, and she just basically falls to her knees in like awe and weeping, going like, "Oh my,
yeah, because he's old.
You're actually real." Because he's a myth. And he's right there in front of her, and she's an Inquisitor. Like they're meant to be like quite hard, but she just like has an emotional breakdown. Like, my by the Emperor, you're real and all that. And he's like, "Cool." And they're like, "But you walked a lot in the time of the Emperor." And he goes, "I seem to remember he was rather fond of me as well." I ate, I drank, I pissed alongside him.
It's extremely spaceful.
And he's like completely blasé, and they're like, "But you were there with the Emperor and all that." He goes, "Yeah, he's all right. Big guy." But yeah, he completely freaked them out.
That glowy fellow, I reckon I could take him.
Yeah. He was he seemed quite fond of
So fucking funny.
But yeah, beyond but the whole that's the thing, like with the heresy, like the Space Wolves or the Valka Fenrica, for all the fans listening, they are they're a lot not so much space. They're not as space Vikings as they used to be.
Yeah.
In the earlier heresy books, there was like Battle for the Abyss, which is a book that a lot of people hate. I actually didn't mind it. It's basically a car chase in space, but it was quite good. There were some good characters in there, but the Space Wolves in there are basically 40k Space Wolves. Yes, we drink and we fight and we do this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when it comes around to Prospero Burns and Dan Abnett gets hold of them, that's where the Valka Fenrica come from, because they don't call themselves Space Wolves.
Yeah.
They are the Valka Fenrica. They are the Rout. They are the Emperor's executioners, which they always repeat, and all the Space fans often repeat as well. But they don't go with the Space Wolf thing. They're called Space Wolf, and they let people call them Space Wolves.
Yeah,
because
but they
it
don't
shows
call
their
themselves that.
Yeah, but they don't call themselves that sort of thing. But they are more nuanced. They have a lot more because the other thing about Space Wolves is a lot of people think that they are space Vikings. In a way, they are, but they're actually more based on the Rus, which were the Ukrainian Vikings.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
in
the name.
audio dramas, people are wondering why they spoke with a Russian accent. Because they're the Rus. They are, and because layman of the Rus.
Yeah, makes sense.
There you go. It's but yeah, they've got so much more character and depth to them now, compared to 40k Space
Stereotypes, yeah.
What stereotypes? Yeah, maybe like drunk and and with saga and all that sort of stuff. But even Layman Russ is actually very interesting character. There's a lot more to him than just going around smashing the crap out of everything.
Being a tank of a man.
Yeah, well, he's one of the most deadliest in combat. Like him, Sanguinius, the Lion, Angron, Nighthaughter is very, and Horus. They're probably the three main sort of battle dudes. Really, they're just devastating in combat. But also, they also have force multipliers. Apart from Angron has no force multipliers.
Sounds right.
In the game. He just goes around and kills everything.
That sounds like Angron.
But in was it Wolf King? I think it is, or Wolfbane. There's a flashback because I didn't know that Layman Russ was the second Primarch found. I'll say that loosely.
Yeah, but he was an early one.
Found. Yeah, so Horus was found, and then 30 years later, Layman Russ was found. And there's this scene where they're meeting for the first time, and Russ is there with his drunken friends, and just giving off this vibe that he is a basically stupid savage, and he's not. He's basically
playing into it.
That he's basically letting you think that, and then obviously that's where he'll change later on, because it's helping him gauge your character by how you treat towards him. Because like Horus doesn't like Russ really. He's got something against Russ because it's siblings. The firstborn always has problems with the second.
Yeah,
there's that rivalry between sort of thing. Because he even says like all the other Primarchs after Russ, Horus has no problem with at all. He just always has a problem with Russ. Because he was the second one, first other one to turn up, even though technically he was the third. Or was he? We don't know.
Dun, dun, dun. One day they'll have some
Horus
story.
wasn't the first. Horus wasn't the first found, or was he? We don't know.
Because whatever.
How can you trust
the two stricken things or whatever too?
Sigmar?
No, the first Primarch found. I'll keep on doing the little bunny ears. The first Primarch found was Alfarius.
Sounds about right.
So he says. But when you hear like the Primarch books, he basically says, like, you can take what you want to say. I'm going to tell you this thing. It's up to you if you want to trust me. But one he says about was that he was on Terra. He was found on Terra after the scattering. And basically he was deliberately kept hidden because of their purpose. Because all the legions, all the Primarchs have their purpose. And his purpose was to be the sword in the dark.
He's sneaky as shit.
He was the one to make sure that the Imperium continued by any means necessary.
Interesting.
So he was there for decades before finding Horus and the others. And in the story, he even saying about, he was present when they found like Primarchs, because one of his abilities is that he can alter the perception of how people perceive him. So he can walk around as a normal space marine, and you would think he was a normal space marine. And I think he said that was there was only 2 people that almost caught him out, and one was the lion. Like like he was just standing there like, oh yeah, I'm invisible and all that, and then like the lion's looking towards him, sort of thing. So, oh, maybe I'm not so much.
It's so okay. I didn't know that. All right, so that I didn't. He's that's one really of the ones I knew the least about. So that's really interesting.
I only know a bunch about him because like one of my close buddies here, he plays Alpha Legion and paints a lot of Alpha Legion and like busts and shit, and just talks about Alpha Legion a lot. I'm like, but what does he do?
Yeah. I just know all the memes and stuff, dude. That's all I know. I'm like, I'll figure out one day about him.
Yeah.
So
but
does he usually have a helmet on when they put him in art, or do they?
Yeah, mostly there is one photo picture, like one artwork. I think the cover to the his Primarch book. I think he's helmetless. But the thing is, all of his sons look like him as well, and they deliberately basically follow.
They're all various now.
Yeah, that's why they say I am Alfaris. So they're all basically shaven head, and
okay.
So, and they look, and even some of them will take on. If they look too distinct, they would actually have cosmetic surgery to make them look like Alfaris. And that's the whole thing. It's like I'm Alfaris, because we all look alike and stuff. The head of the Hydra.
Yeah.
One
interesting.
Fails, one step.
It's very
And don't forget Omegon.
Who again? Yeah.
Omegon. Who is Alfaris?
Well, I need to listen to the books because I want to know what's going on there, because they're the same, but they're not the same, but they're the same.
They're one cool. Soul between 2 bodies.
That makes absolute sense.
But they are the same. They're both basically twins. Omegon got scattered, whereas Alfaris didn't. And in his book, he always goes about, I feel that there's something missing. There's some presence out there that is sort of calling to him in a way. The model you see in Forge World, the armor he's wearing is what Omegon is wearing when they find him. So, and the thing is, nobody outside of the Legion knows Omegon exists.
Oh, so I didn't know that one either on him.
That armor. So they swap armor, sort of thing. They set up meeting Horus, because Horus was the one who found Alfarius, although it was deliberately planned out by the Alpha Legion that they took at a certain place at a certain time. They attacked him. Alfarius boarded his ship because he knew all the access codes and went up and basically stormed the bridge. And then when Horus comes storming in, he sort of like instantly recognizes this being in front of him has to be a Primarch. He goes, my brother, or thing like that. But what they did was, because Alfarius had met Horus, even though Horus didn't know he was there.
Gotcha.
it was Omegon who was there, so it would be more genuine, sort of meeting a brother
from the first time. Okay, yeah.
first time. So is it that Primarch book is one of my favourite books. I've listened to it a couple of times now because, in fact, to be fair, it's quite interesting, and it does answer a lot of questions that you know from other things. And the big thing about the Alpha Legion is that their motto, "For the Emperor," they never changed it. And they were the only legion. I don't know if it's been retconned, but originally they were the only legion that didn't go to the warp after the heresy, whereas all the others ran off and basically went into the warp. The Alpha Legion didn't. They stayed within rule space.
Huh.
Maybe it's hard to do stealthy shit in the warp.
Yeah. Plus, they're basically the CIA.
Yeah, they can go wherever they want. No one will know anyway.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Also,
I didn't know much about that. It's a good one to hear about too, because those are some of the ones that I didn't know. I knew the least about.
Well, they don't.
It's working.
Yeah. They've in the new books where they appear in the traitor book, but in nowhere there's no word that mentions traitor in their listings.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because everywhere else has you have 3 warlord traits.
Oh yeah,
options.
There's no traitor specific one.
There's no traitor specific one. One says loyalist only, but the others don't say traitors. None of the characters, even Alpharius, doesn't have the keyword
it's
traitor.
So buck wild. I love it.
And so it's like they are loyalists, but they're not traitors. But are they traitors? No, they're not. What are they? Because all the other ones, even in the loyalist book, you have traitor rights of war for like Ultramarines, Raven Guard, all that lot. Alpha Legion don't. They don't have no mention of traitor whatsoever. Whereas if you look at everything else, it says traitor only, or loyalist only.
I like that in the same way that I like that Night Lords. I don't think they have a loyalist warlord trait, but like they really shouldn't. I don't know how they would write it.
Well, lots of loyalist Night Lords joined the Raven Guard.
I was told. I have heard the jokes that say that they joined the Crimson Fist and just blended in.
No, I think there was a. I think it's Hawk Lords successor chapter. I think they're actually made up of
That's awesome.
Night Lords.
Especially because like Raven Guard is like the clear analogous for them. I like the Night Lord armor, and I like that they finally. Or I don't know if it was in the other books, but if you look at their like armory in the Horse Heresy core book, it's like this is their armor. It has special Arco projectors to emit lightning effects, and I'm like, these guys literally just have holographic armor with like a TV screen in it that's just making lightning effects. I thought they like painted it on themselves or something, like gang runes.
Oh, so they literally,
because that's another thing that they do. They just have like Adobe. They have Adobe After Effects built into their armor.
Adobe After Effects armor. I didn't know that, dude. Okay, so I can just put lightning around them. That's interesting too.
Like
because I've seen it in the pictures a lot.
Extremely dark armor. Yeah, and they've got the lightning on it, and it's from Arco projectors, and I don't know what the hell an Arco projector is, but it sounds like it's just some little projector. I want the lens flare marine army.
They want a sparkle, dude. They know. In the grim dark future, you got a sparkle.
It's all about the sparkle. They are. There's a short story called "The Value of Fear," which actually has a Night Lord operating with Raven Guard during the heresy. Because I think it's a whole sort of like Terran and Nostromo Night Lords. So a lot of the legions you had like Terran dudes as well as the Homeworld dudes. Some were cool, some were not so cool. Like the Raven Guard got rid of the majority of their Terran contingent because they were too bloodthirsty for Corax's palate. They were basically akin to the Powell Nomads, as they was known. They were akin to like World Eaters. They were that ferocious and furious and bloodletting, but they didn't lose themselves in it. They basically were, they had control.
Barbarian assassins.
Yeah, and they would absolutely brutal and ferocious. And the Horus loved them. And then basically Corax sent a load of them away with the former chapter master. He sent them off to parts unknown, and it's alluded to that they become the space sharks.
Oh, hell yes.
Because of as the Pal Nomads, as they got older, they got paler skin and dark, like all black eyes, sort of thing. And when they found some home world, they've adjusted to it, and they become more like waxy skinned. So that's why they look more sharky. And then they started shaving their teeth. But they were the recruiting grounds for the Raven Guard was basically the Asiatic Dust Plains, which is a region which was modern day Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Burma, and Nepal. So basically, they are Gurkha VC. But Korax didn't like them, got rid of them. Whereas the Night Lords, Terran Night Lords, were more. They
just Russians? Were they Russians? I asked because in all the audiobooks they just put on really thick Russian accents.
They go to that. Like sometimes in some of the later books, like some of the Siege of Terror books, there's actually Irish in there as well. So they're bringing out some of the accents have survived the millennia. But yeah, you always have some strange sort of mixes in there. Obviously, like certain things like Space Wolves are a bit more guttural with the way they talk, especially and World Eaters. Gurkhas are in real life tame World Eaters. Yeah, like there was a big thing about the loyalist Night Lords, and they said they basically joined with Raven Guard because they were very similar to Raven Guard, apart from the whole terror and skinning sort of thing.
Yeah.
But in the book Value of Fear, it sort of demonstrates how the Night Lords differ from the Raven Guard, and they will utilize fear because they basically they were in ambush, and this Raven Guard sergeant's about to pull the trigger on his bolter and kill this dude, and the Night Lord goes, "No, stop!" and he like bats his gun down as he's about to fire. I said, "No, you let him run. You let him run because now he's scared." And now he's scared, he's not thinking. He wants to get out and he wants to find help. And he's going to lead us straight to whoever is in charge. And he does because he's scared and stupid. And so he's just basically demonstrating, the value of fear. You utilize it as part of your
repertoire.
Your repertoire. So yeah, it's not just a case of going around and skinning people. It's a hobby. It's a hobby, but you skin enough people.
This one's somehow going to get some like YouTube warning.
Yeah,
they all get uptight when you discuss skinning people on your live stream.
Okay, get ready because I have a friend. his interaction with Warhammer as a whole is only through the lore, and it's a really interesting thing because I've never really met anyone that's only the lore, no miniatures, no painting, no none of that. But he still hangs out in game stores, and I was working on Night Lord, and he's like, "So how do you think they learn how to do this?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then we were like, "You think they have like an initiation class in their Night Lord skin sewing circle?" And and I'm like, okay, now imagine like a captain who's teaching a new recruit. No. You can't use the chain sword. You'll rip all the materials. You need to use a knife so that you can actually get enough for making this.
Fencing, right?
Come.
There's tools.
Yeah, there's all these tools. Come on, you need to go to our sewing circle. We meet on Sundays. Bring your own sewing machine. That hair, if you want to use that. And I'm just like, this is something that nobody's put in the book. Get one of those authors who get one of those fun Necron authors to write a book about Night Lords, and we'll have the sewing circle.
So it's called the sewing circle. What was I going to say? Where are they at now? Like, what's the newest books coming out as far as not like Horus Heresy, but as far as evolving the new world?
Well, it depends really. You've got a friend of mine, Mark Collins, who's a Black Library writer now. He's just had a book come out about the Black Templars, Helbreck, who is the High Lord of the Black Templars. They're doing a lot of like Warhammer 40, like crime series and stuff. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
to be
that's
honest,
right.
because
I bought one of
I'm
those
waiting
too.
for the next Siege book, the next Siege one, which is the Echoes of Eternity, which is out in September, according to Amazon. Because I pre-ordered it with Amazon, and it said September the 15th is when it's coming out.
Okay.
So I'm enthusiastically waiting for that one.
Alex, if you're still listening, I don't if you have a whatever Amazon, what do you need for? Is it Amazon? Who do you get the books from with? Is it Kindle or whatchamacallit? I think it's the Amazon. Audible. So if he
You're listening with Audible.
Yeah, I have a ton of extra credits. So Alex, for listening, if you have an Audible and you want a free book, I can get you one, dude, because I have a whole bunch and I got to use them. So appreciate you hanging out and chatting with us. So if you do, just DM me like on Twitter. We're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. So just DM me and then I'll get you one. We'll figure out what's available because I have the credit, so I don't think you can get everything, but I think you get most anything. So if you want one, just let me know.
I'm just looking up on Audible now.
Are you?
I just realised I got 4 credits outstanding.
I got credits, dude. I'll get you a book too, man. You're a co-host. You're allowed a book. So when you find one that's good, I'll give you one because I got a few. You've paid your dues, even though you went trader and started a new show. You better not. You get all popular, dude.
New show? New show have I started?
I'm just teasing, dude. But you're working on that after? You're painting it?
Oh well, that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be wiping off all the crap. That's that, and then if that's finished quickly, then I'll be building some bits because the Wednesday night stream is it's for building stuff.
And then the Saturdays for painting.
Yeah, so that's what I've decided. It's just like
it probably works out good. Yeah, you just kind of assemble and light stuff that day, and then you got the Saturday, so you chill and paint a little.
Yeah.
You've been making good. You seems like you've been making good headway. You're always putting out stuff.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's not too bad. Could be worse. Could be on fire. But yeah, I'm still looking to see if they've got anything interesting book-wise. But yeah, I'll probably have to go through the Warhammer Black Library.
Yeah.
I know there's several books that have come out recently, but
I know. I wonder. I gotta see. I gotta keep up. I want to get. I read that one or listened to it with Call, and now I want to get one that covers Rabute coming back. You know what I mean? Like, where I want to see where he's at now. Like, because I haven't really read or heard anything. Besides like everyone talking about it, but the actual lore or a book with, the Primarch, coming back and just seeing how everyone's reaction and stuff.
If you've got Warhammer TV subscription thing, you can actually access the Warhammer Vault, and you need to read the old campaign books, a couple of years old now, involving the Cadia, because it has like stuff written in there about when he was basically resurrected and stuff.
Okay.
In the new books, you see bits where he's like dealing with being reawoken and bits and pieces in a novel format. So like Avenging Sun, which was out I think last year.
Yeah, I think I heard that. I heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So like in that, he's like having thoughts about being resurrected, because he knows that he can't take his armor off. If he takes his armor off, he dies.
Is that the deal?
So yeah, basically there's a few things that were used to get him back alive. There was this thing called, I think, the Heart of Iron, which appears in the Horus Heresy. There's an Iron Hands captain who's wearing it after being horribly screwed over. They find it somewhere, whack it on him, and it keeps him alive. But it sort of it drains energy from him as well. It's really sort of, it's not a great thing.
Yeah.
So he's got that incorporated into the armor, I think, that Core made for him, and the Eldar or Eldari, using their sort of death god stuff, was able to sort of resurrect him, because they realise it's a good idea to actually have him back.
I didn't know that they helped bring him back.
Yeah, it was actually the Eldari that actually got a lot of the people off of Cadia before it went boom. They basically opened up webways, and they was able to, like, Black Templars, Imperial Army, or whatever, and stuff, managed to escape through the webways. And then they went to Macragge, got Guilliman up, and then they went to Terra, where he spoke to Dad.
Interesting. So you learn all kinds of good lore, dude. I don't even have to listen to audiobooks. I can get the condensed snippets from all of you guys. Now you have to read. I'll have to read a passage every once in a while for flavor. I can't find, man. I had to move a whole bunch of stuff, and I can't find my old Rogue Trader book. And I know it's right around here somewhere, so I got to go digging for it tomorrow, because I do some of the short video clips with the paint overs and the motion, and then I was like, I want to get good clips from, like, just little text snippets for on the videos and stuff from the old Rogue Traders, because I enjoy I had a couple of the old White Dwarfs around, and they didn't have any, like the couple I just had handy right now, so I'm gonna go dig all that stuff up, because I gotta get some of the old, and I'm like, man, I gotta read some of that stuff again. It's been a while since I read like the Rogue Trader, flavor texts and everything. So that'll be cool. And the artwork, I always love the artwork in that damn book.
Yeah, no, there's some great pictures in there.
They
are all iconic.
I gotta get, even if I have to. I mean, it sucks that I won't probably get the originals because they're so expensive now. But I gotta get the Realm of Chaos books again.
Yeah.
Those were so awesome.
Oh, that's an expensive book.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, where's my first ones? I'm like, I don't even know where those went. I'm like, oh man, I'll pick one up. And I was like looking, I'm like, wait, it's like $300. Like, oh god.
Yes. Yeah, some of those books are just like as rare as rocking horse poo.
Yeah, so I'm like,
As we say
if I ever
over
see
here.
like a reprint or something, I'll have to get one of those. I do have, you know what I have on the way is the from Dark Fantastic Mills, that like the Dwarven Crag, their cog fort, dude, that huge walking
I
structure. So
I
I bought
I
that and I
I
had him
came
paint it.
in, but
I had him paint it, dude. So it's even painted by
oh,
him. I love that guy's artwork though, dude. His design sense and everything. I like he's probably one of my favorites in this space making stuff that his work always feels so cinematic to me and everything. And it's like it's just
it does.
designed on point, man. And I'm like, dang. So I had to get that. Like, I don't even know. It's so huge, dude. And like, what would you do? And I'm like, okay, my whole plan is just to have that on my desk. That's where I want it. It's just like this huge dwarven fort that I can look at. And obviously, I'm going to do some paint overs of it. That's why I had them paint it so that I could take pictures right away and stuff. So I got to somehow I'll eventually get some units for it and, stuff like that. And, get some stuff just to be able to like take all the pics and everything of it. So the thing's massive though, so I'm cracking up.
It's
I
pretty
don't, I
big.
don't even play
It's
anything.
it,
It's just like this huge. I'm like, all right, man, I just want it because it's just so cool.
it is wider than my Armorcast Reaver, but it is similar in size. If
Oh
you
yeah, you got
have seen
one.
an Armorcast Reaver in a while, Lee.
Yeah, no, my mate Mike's got one and a Warhound. We actually played a game. This was years ago. Basically, it was me and him. I was using my Raptors Space Marines, and he was using his Imperial Guard. And we actually used his Reaver as an objective,
Yes,
basically. That
I love that.
it was basically they found a Reaver Titan just deactivated and abandoned, and we were trying to reclaim it. And then you had the Eldar coming up against us, who had joined up with a small group of Tau, and I got absolutely pummeled. I only had one guy left, which was a scout.
Oh no.
His unit got, I had like, because it was me and him versus like two elder players and one of the guys' son who had the Tau. They concentrated on me and absolutely annihilated everything I had, sort of thing. And I just one scout who basically his force went in to attack this objective, killed a lot of people, but he was the last one left, and he ran. Then he regrouped, and then he thought, right, okay, there's not a lot I can do on my own, so I ran him over to an adjacent objective and claimed him, and it was that won us the game. So losing all my entire army, apart from that one dude.
I love great narrative moments like that.
That's what I miss a lot about playing is those little like the stories that played out like on the battlefield. You know what I mean? It was like I had some like Space Wolves Bloodclaw guy that he had a power fist and his squad. I think they all had like jump packs or I forget what the deal was. Or they rolled out of a rhino, but they literally took out like two vehicles and their whole squad took out two vehicles and all these squads of Imperial Guards. And he was the last one standing and he would refuse to break. And he was still by himself solo. I think he took down like a rhino because he was the one with the power glove. So he's like running around. They smashed the whole side of this line, like of all Imperial goons. And then, like this one solo guy is just left charging around. And it was so funny because we used to always play. You lay the units down so you could see, like, especially Imperial. We started because we play against like Imperial Guard, and there were so many of them, like mean piles of bodies. So it was just everyone would like put the units. You get to see like how it all like transpired. So that was, I always remember that one. I was like, oh man, I like the specific model and everything. I missed that. Like there's the same reason. When I played Necromunda, there were some good battles that used to take place in there for like cool events like that.
It was, I think there was, again, it was like, I used to be a big Tau player from when this Tau was what brought me back into the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to do these like little tournaments to go to. And everybody used to go, ha ha ha, just get Tau into close combat. Ha 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 ha. They just die and all that.
Yeah.
And we was doing a doubles tournament, and my mate had a squad of 7 fire warriors, and he got charged by 10 Dark Elder warriors. and they charged him, and he won combat, and then basically run him down. It's like, what, really? And we were just like, he didn't lose anyone in that as well. Their dice rolling was crap, and they died.
I also really love when stuff like that happens in a skirmish game, because my wife and I played Kill Team a while ago, and I was playing Chaos and she was playing Tau, and Shield Drone tied up a Khorne Berserker for 2 turns in melee and then killed the Khorne Berserker in melee. And I'm just like, this is a Shield Drone.
You say that those drones deceptive, they were good initiative.
They bonk.
As well. I had a squad. Again, I think about 7 drones were left, and they engaged Ragnar Blackmane and 4 Wolfguard Terminators. And I think I lost 1 drone, and their Wolfguard, like the Wolfguard, all rolled 1s.
Oh, God.
All 4 died, and Ragnar took a wound, and he basically legged it. And it's just like, did that actually happen? Did gun drones actually just twat these legendary warriors of renown? Obviously, admittedly, there's a lot of guns involved, but it's just like
4 chunky boys or 7 frisbees.
That's where all my tactics go to the wayside, because I can't let my wolf lords be brought down by drones for story purposes. So they'll be like, so some strategery takes place of who engages what. Like, why are the wolf lord running away? I'm like, dude, because I'm not dying to know crappy drones.
No, funnily enough, there's some of the things like Alan Bligh, who was the greatest like writer for the Horus Heresy books and everything. He just had so many ideas and created such a rich environment for us to play our games in. One of the stories I remember him, which I have definitely told this story on here before, was at one of the Heresy Weekenders. He was saying about I think the Prospero book came out, so he had the Space Wolves and Thousand Suns. And when they were talking about, like, in the backgrounds, the original chapter master of the Space Wolves, who either just prior or after meeting Layman Russ, sort of thing, died fighting this orc like champion with this like mega armor and all that sort of shit. This orc warlord, and basically that was from a game he played when he was like 13. When he was playing Warhammer and using. Do you remember Zoids?
Yeah.
They were using Zoids to represent.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
And in this game, his Space Wolf captain got twatted by this orc warlord, and so he just obviously it scarred him. And he basically wrote it up polished it off, and that's what happened to the first chapter master of the Space Wolves. It was actually happening.
that adds a cool little, like, even if you're a writer, even as like a, from a fan perspective, it's just kind of the cool little, like, it makes it that much more whatever real or something, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, authors, like lots of the authors are actually gamers as well. They play.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that. So, they can actually, if they had a particularly good game or something like that, and they thought, oh, I remember that, and I'll, polish it up and put that in as a scene, what happens, sort of thing. Something completely off the wall. Put in some, some witty language.
And see, 40K, I wonder how it is now to play. I remember even in second edition, it was so, like, it was just wild what would happen. You know what I mean? Like, the play out, it was like, I would always kind of, we get competitive, and I understand how people are into it, and I have friends who would play that way, but I'm like, it is like trying to balance the unbalanceable. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of got to go with the flow.
Just play Heresy. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And by that I mean I played a game. I played a game of Heresy with my friend the other day because we were both like, we've been painting armies for a bit. Let's actually play a game now.
Yeah.
And it was the most fun I've had on tabletop in a long time.
Oh, really? That's cool to know.
Was you using the new rules as well?
Yeah, we played Heresy 2.0. It was Alpha Legion versus Night Lords, and it was funny because we rolled on the table for deployment and we rolled ambush, and I went, wait a minute, we didn't determine who's attacker and who's defender. Let's figure this out narratively. And he's like, well, I'm Alpha Legion, so of course I'm ambushing you. And I'm like, yeah, but it's night fighting because I'm night fighting because this is a Night Lords and that's what we do. And I'm like, you're ambushing me at night? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, that doesn't seem tactically sound. And he's like, that's what they want you to think. And I went, fair fucking enough. The only thing that was that like, a lot of games have a lot of feel bad moments because, like, just the nature of them. Sometimes having to take your toys off the table. Reactions remove a lot of that, except when the master of strategies counter deploys your counter deploy. So now your 6-man terror squad is going to get killed.
Yeah,
but that's Alpha Legion for you. So.
Yeah,
but aside from that, no, it was phenomenal.
Okay, because there was weird things like. Yeah, how certain things used to play out. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, okay, and then the units would either get wiped or whatever. And it was just like awkward, the good stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Like with the new reactions, I played against Night Lords with my Emperor's Children. So my Emperor's Children with Sol Tarvis in charge versus Sebatar and some Night Lords. So obviously, first turn is all night fighting and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of hampered my firing, especially when you've got a contemptor with a conversion beamer. Its maximum fire is 42 inches. And you can't see that.
That's my soul because I fucking love C-beams.
But it panned out, like, obviously because of like I set up in a defensive position. Holding at some positions that I thought, well, okay, I'll do this because they had a tank. I only had a Rhino, and I had 3 contemptors, and mostly line infantry. I only had 3 tactical, 10-man tactical. Hey, Engine Phil, 3 tactical squads, Palatine Blades. 3 apothecaries and Sol Tarvis sort of thing. So I was holding back in a defensive formation sort of thing. But obviously that night fighting shenanigans was like, oh, you can get it. It's like, damn.
Thankfully, we forgot about the -1 ballistic skill. because to me that's lagniappe, because I'm really about the -1 to fear and the maximum range. And he also had like night goggles for most of his dudes, because Alpha Legion, and also he knew what I was going to do, which is night fighting, because I made enough jokes about it, because it just happens. They just have to deal with it.
Yeah, no, it was. But what you say about reactions, because my opponent they'd played a few games before. This is my first game of it using them, and once the night fighting dropped, I was lining up a shot with my C beam against their Sikaran they had. So they basically moved that out of the way. I thought, ha 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 ha, you can't shoot me. I'm out of sight, sort of thing. But on the second turn, because with Emperor's Children, there's a rite of war called Maru Skara, and you select an amount of like elites, and whilst you choose a turn for which they turn up and they get outflanked. So I was planning on the second turn for them to turn up, which was just one Contemptor Dreadnought, which I was basically my ancient Rylanor model. So where they put their Sikaran was literally right into a corner. Came out flanking behind it. At which point they've gone, reaction, and they moved it away from the Contemptor.
Oh no!
But by doing so, they've moved it right in front of my C beam again.
That's a pincer attack if I ever heard
from the
one.
side, as well as it wasn't the same beam that did the damage. It was the other Contemptor with the two Kerry's assault cannons that basically rendered the crap out of it.
I brought two things that I had never brought in any sort of war game, and one was a Rhino, and I brought a Whirlwind to my small 1,000-point game.
Oh yeah, Whirlwind! I remember those first coming out. I thought they were cool, but they're still half useless.
Oh my god, Whirlwinds feel really good for Night Lords in a very disgusting, rude way, because vehicles count as 10 models for the sake of overwhelming something. So when you have something that fires rockets wherever the hell you want them to go, and they can pin and they can rend on a 4-up, it's just value. I still couldn't kill any of those damn Lamian Terminators, but you know what? At least I annoyed them.
Yes. But actually, Engine Phil, I was actually talking to him earlier today about he's gone with the Word Bearers, and he's basically, I was going through like their characters and their stuff with him earlier on today. I was on the phone for an hour or so.
Really?
But I was looking through the things, going, "Oh well, they've got this, and the realization is that they are fucking tough. They've got a lot of stuff that they can really hurt everybody. And plus, they're demons. They're fucking demons. A lot of them. Yeah. So they're going to, once he's got them built and painted and let them loose, they're just going to go around rampaging left, right, and center, I'm sure.
I love all the new Word Bearer models. Like, there's like, I think there's two characters that they released recently. I know there was Argyle Tall recently, but they also had like I think it was a Praetor and a Terminator Praetor. Those were awesome looking models.
I saw today, Privateer Press. I never really followed this too much. Like, I don't know, 8 years ago, I played a couple games with a friend. It was kind of cool. I bring them up because I noticed we had talked on here before, and they're switching, and it seems like they're going to produce them at first or whatever, but they're switching to totally 3D printed. I mean, I get why, and they're obviously not the scale of GW and all that, but I found it interesting because, like, I think that is like the companies like on like the next wave are going to have to embrace 3D printing and ride it till it gets even better, and just do it that way. Like, I think, because like the material costs and how the shipping and all around the world and all that. So I'm curious as to see how their little model goes for them, because
actually, a really cool topic.
to me, it seems like that's just the future for a lot of companies. Not, not necessarily maybe GW or whatever, but like I just see like if the printers get even better and you're going to be making a game and you can cut out the delivery and the making it yourself and all that and kind of streamline it down, like I kind of see that's going to be like kind of the next wave. It's going to hurt for a while because obviously it's not as easy as going into a store, but like it's going to be interesting.
So there's a group of people that make like STLs every month on Patreon. They started. Well, they ended up making a game called Rivenstone, and the interesting thing is that they're not releasing the models in that way. They're using this thing called Silo Cast, which is a new like way to cast stuff like really easily from what I've seen. A buddy of mine talked to them a bunch at Adepticon, and it's interesting, but also like the thing I'll say about Privateer Press and moving to that, it's because, well, they've been producing like 95% of their models in pewter for the past ever. They're still doing pewter,
like,
and like
in that money, you can't afford that these days.
They don't want to switch to thermoplastic, so they're just gonna say, screw it, we're releasing STLs. Also, printers. Oh my god! I pre-ordered a printer at some point in time earlier this year, and I thought it was going to come in around Christmas. Nope, it came in a week or so ago, and oh my god, 8K it's beautiful. And by that I mean I almost want to rip these bits off, reprint them, and repaint them, but I'm not going to do that
so you got an 8K one? Okay, good to know.
Yeah, and it's also bigger now, and like we're printing out a bunch of busts for charity to work on. Not the one that she's presently posting about is not printed on the 8K, but like it's still really good.
Yeah, you're lucky I don't live closer. I'd be buttering you up, buddy. Hey, buddy, I brought over some.
No, it'd be great. All my resin costs would be paid for.
Why don't we hang out by your resin printer, buddy?
You can hang out in the hot room. Like in the winter, we keep like almost like Charity's family does like plumbing and cleaning things, and like they use this heater to keep their like industrial pressure washer from freezing in the winter.
Yeah. Wow, and then we gotta let Forge of Mars over here go get a little. He has a couple minutes to get ready.
What you call it? Oh my god!
I forget.
Oh my god!
There's too many of the Forge of Mars.
God!
What you call it?
All right.
Hey, I'm distracted. I'm looking at like 3 screens. I literally have 3 screens going now.
Just call him Mr. Fire Wasps.
What you call it? Like,
yeah,
because everyone. There's too many names. Everyone will be like adjusting from everything, and I'm like, wait a second. And I go through at least
I have the same name on all my social media platforms.
No, you do, but it's like
I had to change my name. I had to change my branding.
And then there was like Clayton, and then there's like then Martin, and like all in Discord, so they'll be switching names in there.
That's
even
funnier.
Yeah, dude. So there'll be like other Claytons who aren't Claytons. I'm like, what is going on, man?
I had a group of people that I hung out with in college, and they had a Clayton. But thankfully, when I met them, he was out of the country in some European country that I don't. Romania, Bolivia, one of them. Bulgaria is Bulgaria. It was actually Finland, but
it's all the same thing. Somewhere.
I was like Bolivia, South America.
I couldn't remember because I wasn't that big of a fan. Anyway, he came back, and I'm like, now we got to distinguish Claytons because I've been here for a while and you've been gone.
Yeah. Same name issues. At least we don't have any Lees.
My goodness.
Yeah, we don't. There's like in the hobby in general, there's a Mr.
I was looking at a ton of stuff, and I was like, wait a second. I'm looking at Engine Phil's name.
He's got to close all his marketing research. to remember everyone's name.
I always know Lee's name. It's all
Engine
started
Phil.
from asking some random
I
person on
named-
that, hey man, can you stream with me?
Well, to be fair, that's how it all started.
That is
Hey,
true.
you
'Cause
quite
he had
do this
awesome
sort of thing. Do another one. And then
I
like,
saw
hey, I'm going online in about 30 minutes. Do you want to come on a live stream? I'm in the shower. All right,
sounds
I'll
like a
be
great
there.
idea. I saw a old illustration in. I was looking up some. It must have been. I'm pretty sure it was Rogue Trader. No, it couldn't have been Rogue Trader. I think it was for Adeptus Titanicus or Space Marine. It was when Space Marine came out, and there's 2 or 3 Titans in a line, and it was basically it was a drawn version, but it was like exactly like that picture that I painted over of yours, Lee, with the 3 Titans in there. And it was like I was like, oh dude, it looks totally just like that old artwork. And I'm sure I saw that artwork at the time, but didn't remember it till then, and it was basically laid out exactly the same. It was such a great
That's
photo.
the one with the heraldry, isn't it?
Yeah,
the color.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that photo, man. I love that photo.
Yeah, I was say, like, you know, when you put that up when you've done one of your little collages to speed through, and you put the Prodigy on there, that was just like perfect.
Yeah.
I love the day is my enemy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, go over to Lee's stream after this. He'll be up and running a little bit.
Yeah,
So
10
go
minutes.
check it out. I gotta eat something at some point, and I'll probably swing by in there. Clayton, are you streaming it all? Do you stream it all these days or not really?
I'm getting back into it now that I actually have camera equipment and setup and like something that resembles easy to use, something that is easy for me to paint on that is also relatively decent to work with.
Gotcha.
So not presently, but I'm going to the next couple of
Dabble when the time
allows. Once my eyeballs are fixed in tomorrow, I'll be able to see everything better and then stream better.
Well, thanks for Engine Phil. Thanks for stopping by, Alex. Appreciate it. Everybody, is nice having you along, and then we will do this next week.
Take it easy, y'all.
Later, all.
See you later, whoever you are, and pretzel.